I didn't have a lot of challenges because I was smart enough to follow Barry Sonnenfeld's direction.
Tommy Lee Jones, a name synonymous with intensity, gravitas, and unforgettable performances. From The Fugitive to No Country for Old Men, his on-screen presence has captivated audiences for decades. But behind the stoic exterior and that signature scowl lies a story few people know. A story of solitude, secrecy, and a life that has grown increasingly quiet as he nears his 80th birthday. Fans remember Jones as the tough, authoritative figure who could dominate a scene without uttering many words. Yet, off-camera, his lifestyle paints a far different picture. He's not living in the Hollywood limelight, surrounded by endless parties and cameras. Instead, sources close to him describe a man who cherishes privacy above all else. A man who has stepped back from public life and chosen seclusion over fame. Rumors have long circulated about Jones's personal life, his marriages, his relationships, and his enigmatic personality. But recent accounts from those who know him best reveal the truth. A life that is, in many ways, lonely. He spends most of his time in quiet reflection, far from the bustling world of Hollywood. His routines are simple, often solitary, and filled with a sense of melancholy that contrasts sharply with the larger-than-life characters he portrays on screen. As we take a closer look at Tommy Lee Jones's life today, the story becomes clear. The man who once embodied authority, wit, and charm is now living a life of stark simplicity, removed from the fame and chaos that once defined him. And the reason why is both heartbreaking and eye-opening. Tommy Lee Jones is a man whose very presence commands attention. Whether portraying the relentless U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard in The Fugitive or the stoic agent in Men in Black, Jones has spent decades embodying characters who are intense, disciplined, and uncompromising. Yet behind the on-screen persona lies a very different reality, a life marked by privacy, solitude, and a deliberate withdrawal from the Hollywood spotlight. Born on September 15, 1946, in San Saba, Texas, Jones's upbringing was far from glamorous. Raised in a working-class family, he developed a strong sense of independence and resilience early on. His father, Clyde C. Jones, was a real estate agent, and his mother, Lucille Marie Scott, worked as a police officer and later a county clerk. These formative years shaped the man who would later be known for his no-nonsense approach both in his craft and in life. According to sources close to him, Jones's Texas upbringing instilled in him a love for simplicity, hard work, and self-reliance, qualities that have carried through to his personal life today. Jones's career skyrocketed in the 1970s and 80s, with his breakout roles in films like Coal Miner's Daughter and The Fugitive. By the 1990s, he was a household name, celebrated not only for his acting talent, but for his distinctive rugged charm and piercing gaze. Despite his fame, Jones never sought the limelight outside of his work. He avoided the party scene, rarely gave interviews, and famously shunned award ceremonies unless absolutely necessary. This intentional distance from Hollywood's social world earned him a reputation as enigmatic, even aloof. While his career flourished, his personal life remained intensely private. He married twice, first to actress and producer Kathy Weaver and later to Dawn Laurel, though reports suggest he has kept most of his family life out of public view. Those close to Jones describe him as deeply loyal to family and friends, yet fiercely protective of his personal space. "Tommy values privacy above all else," one insider said. He believes life is too short to live under constant scrutiny. As Jones approaches his 80th birthday, his life has become quieter and more introspective. He spends much of his time on his expansive property in Texas, surrounded by nature, books, and solitude. He enjoys activities that allow him to disconnect from the public eye: horseback riding, hiking, and reading classic literature. According to those who have visited him, his home is understated, a stark contrast to the opulence often associated with Hollywood stars. Jones appears content in his self-imposed isolation, though some close observers note a sense of melancholy in his lifestyle, a reflection of a man who has sacrificed personal connections and social life for privacy and independence. Jones's dedication to his craft has never waned even as he ages. He continues to choose projects carefully, often portraying characters who reflect his own values, integrity, quiet strength, and resilience. Yet the intensity that made him a celebrated actor also seems to have shaped his approach to life outside of acting. He's deliberate, cautious, and selective in whom he allows into his inner circle. Despite the perception of solitude, Jones is not entirely disconnected. Friends and collaborators describe him as loyal, witty, and generous in private settings. But this side of him is rarely seen by the public, creating a stark contrast between the characters he portrays, larger than life, sometimes relentless, and the man who now prefers quiet, reflective days to the chaos of Hollywood. For many, Tommy Lee Jones's life today is a study in contrast, a legendary actor, celebrated worldwide, living a life of near seclusion, content with simplicity, yet carrying the weight of decades in an industry that never slows down. And while some may find this lifestyle sad, those who know him understand it is a choice, a deliberate retreat from fame, designed to preserve the integrity, peace, and solitude that he values above all else. As Tommy Lee Jones approaches his 80th year, the contrast between his public persona and private life becomes even more striking. On screen, he is the embodiment of toughness, often portraying men who are relentless, determined, and unflinching in the face of danger. Off-screen, however, he has embraced a life of quiet introspection, deliberately distanced from the Hollywood limelight that made him famous. Sources close to him describe a man who has traded parties and premieres for the simple pleasures of solitude, reflection, and connection with nature. Friends and former collaborators emphasize that Jones has always been fiercely private, a trait that intensified with age. Unlike many actors who chase attention, he prefers to maintain a low profile. Tommy doesn't need validation from the outside world, one close friend explained. He knows who he is, and he's comfortable living life on his own terms. This commitment to privacy means that even as he works on occasional projects, he rarely gives interviews or engages with the media, keeping the focus on his craft rather than his personal life. Jones's retreat from public life is also shaped by his personal experiences. Having spent decades in an industry that thrives on spectacle and gossip, he has learned to value genuine relationships over fleeting recognition. According to sources, he spends his days largely alone, reading, horseback riding, and walking on his Texas property. These activities, while simple, provide him with a sense of peace and stability that the chaotic world of Hollywood never could. He has deliberately created a sanctuary where he can reflect, read, and engage in quiet hobbies without interruption. Yet despite the tranquility of his chosen lifestyle, there is an undeniable sense of melancholy. Observers note that Jones's withdrawal from public life coincides with the natural challenges of aging, including declining energy and physical limitations. While he remains active and sharp-minded, the pace and intensity of Hollywood no longer align with his personal priorities. Friends have described moments when he reflects quietly on his career, acknowledging the extraordinary roles he played and the impact he had on film, but also the sacrifices required to reach that level of success. Jones's relationships with family and close friends reveal another side of his life. Though he maintains strong bonds with a small circle, he has kept romantic relationships and personal details largely private, avoiding the scrutiny of tabloids and social media. His daughter and other close relatives describe him as a loving, protective figure who values integrity, loyalty, and honesty above all else. He cares deeply about those he loves, a family member said, but he doesn't feel the need to broadcast it. That's just who he is. Interestingly, his dedication to his craft continues to define him. While he may live quietly, he approaches each acting opportunity with the same intensity and precision that made him a legend. Directors and co-stars often comment on his work ethic, noting that despite his age, he maintains remarkable focus and commitment on set. For Jones, acting is not a means to fame or fortune. It is a discipline, a craft that requires respect, patience, and skill. Ultimately, Tommy Lee Jones's current lifestyle reflects a deliberate choice to step back from the chaos and spotlight of Hollywood and live a life on his own terms. For some, it may appear lonely or sad. For others, it is a testament to his desire for authenticity and peace. He has chosen a path that prioritizes solitude, reflection, and self-preservation, embracing the quiet over the spectacle and depth over publicity. As he nears 80, Tommy Lee Jones remains a paradox, a legendary actor whose career is celebrated worldwide, yet who has opted for a life largely unseen by the public eye. It is a lifestyle that speaks to his values, privacy, integrity, and a relentless dedication to the craft he loves. Even as the world outside fades into the background, Tommy Lee Jones's reclusive lifestyle has fueled curiosity and speculation among fans for years. While his career spans decades and includes some of the most memorable roles in Hollywood history, his personal life remains shrouded in mystery. Close acquaintances describe a man who is intensely private, fiercely independent, and often misunderstood by those who only see his public persona. Despite his reputation as a stoic, no-nonsense figure, those closest to Jones reveal a man with deep emotional complexity. Friends recount that he has a dry, subtle sense of humor and can be surprisingly warm in intimate settings. Yet he shares these moments sparingly, often keeping his true feelings and personal life tightly guarded. One longtime collaborator said, "Tommy doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. If you earn his trust, you see a side of him few others do, but he chooses carefully who gets in." Jones's personal choices have always reflected his values. Even in his youth, he eschewed Hollywood excess, preferring to focus on his craft rather than celebrity culture. He avoided the party scene, rejected unnecessary publicity, and shied away from the constant glare of cameras. Now approaching 80, that pattern has only intensified. According to those familiar with his life, he spends much of his time in quiet reflection, enjoying the simplicity of rural Texas life, reading, walking, horseback riding, or tending to personal projects. These activities, while ordinary, provide him with a sense of grounding and peace that fame never could. While his withdrawal may appear melancholic to outsiders, friends insist that it is a deliberate choice rather than a result of despair. "Tommy is not lonely by circumstance. He is selective by nature," a family member explained. "He has everything he needs within his home, his thoughts, and the people he allows close to him. That's enough for him." His dedication to privacy, however, has contributed to the perception that he is sad or isolated, when in reality he is exercising control over his life and surroundings. Yet, the inevitability of aging brings undeniable challenges. While Jones remains active, the physical toll of time has limited some of his preferred activities. Friends note that he has slowed down, but his mental sharpness remains intact. He continues to engage with scripts, analyze characters, and reflect on his performances with meticulous attention to detail. Acting for Jones is not about fame. It is a disciplined craft, and he approaches it with the same seriousness today as he did decades ago. Relationships have also shaped his life significantly. While details about his romantic life are scarce, those close to him confirm that he values deep, loyal connections over casual interactions. His family describes him as protective, thoughtful, and generous, traits often hidden from the public eye but central to who he is as a person. These relationships, though few in number, are rich in quality and meaningful in impact. Ultimately, Tommy Lee Jones's life today is a study in contrasts. On one hand, he is one of the most iconic actors of his generation, celebrated worldwide for roles that defined modern cinema. On the other, he is a man who has consciously removed himself from the spotlight, choosing solitude, reflection, and privacy over recognition. While some may view his lifestyle as sad or lonely, it is, in reality, a reflection of a man who values autonomy, integrity, and inner peace above all else. As he approaches his 80th birthday, Jones's story reminds us that true strength is often quiet, and fulfillment does not always come from fame or public validation. In the world's eyes, he may appear withdrawn, but in his own terms, he is living deliberately, thoughtfully, and authentically, a choice that has defined both his life and his legacy. As Tommy Lee Jones nears 80, the life he leads today is a stark contrast to the larger-than-life characters he once portrayed. The relentless U.S. Marshals, detectives, and anti-heroes he brought to life on screen were known for their intensity, unwavering resolve, and fearless independence. Yet off-screen, Jones has chosen a life that prioritizes quiet reflection, simplicity, and a retreat from the celebrity-driven world that shaped much of his career. Friends and insiders describe him as a man who has embraced solitude not out of sadness, but as a conscious choice. Tommy's world is small, but it's his sanctuary, a close acquaintance explained. He surrounds himself with the things he loves, books, nature, and a few trusted people. That's where he finds peace. His home in rural Texas has become a haven, a place where he can engage in activities that feed his mind and soul, far from the scrutiny of cameras and media. Yet, even in this self-imposed isolation, Jones carries the weight of a lifetime in Hollywood. Though he rarely discusses it publicly, those who know him say he reflects often on his career and the sacrifices he made for success. The demanding schedules, constant travel, and pressure to maintain a public persona took a toll over the years. Jones's choice to step back is a testament to a man seeking balance after decades of intensity. He doesn't regret the work, a collaborator noted. But he understands the cost it comes with, and he's determined to live his later years on his own terms. Health and aging have also played a role in shaping his daily life. While Jones remains physically active, walking, horseback riding, and maintaining a disciplined routine, time has inevitably slowed him. Friends note that he remains sharp mentally, analyzing scripts, reflecting on characters, and pursuing personal projects. Acting, even at this stage, is less about fame or recognition and more about dedication to craft, discipline, and passion. Jones's relationships remain central to his sense of well-being, even if they are limited in number. Family and close friends describe him as protective, loyal, and deeply thoughtful. He values meaningful connections and surrounds himself with people he trusts completely. For Jones, quantity has never mattered. It's the quality of relationships that counts. He's a man who feels deeply, even if he doesn't always show it, a family member explained. Those who are close to him know the depth of his care and loyalty. There is also a profound sense of reflection in his life today. Unlike the characters he played, who often resolved conflicts with action, Jones's resolution comes from introspection. He spends time considering the past, appreciating what he has accomplished, and savoring the moments of quiet that elude so many in the fast-paced world of Hollywood. This reflective lifestyle, while appearing lonely to some, is deeply fulfilling to him. Ultimately, Tommy Lee Jones's current life offers a rare glimpse into a man who has mastered the art of balance. He has walked away from the chaos of public scrutiny to preserve what he values most: peace, privacy, and purpose. While the world may see his solitude as sadness, those who know him understand it as a deliberate choice, a life lived deliberately, authentically, and on his own terms. In the end, the story of Tommy Lee Jones is not one of decline or despair. It is a story of intentional living, of prioritizing what truly matters, and of a man who, even at nearly 80, continues to define his own narrative. The tough, commanding figures he played on screen may have been larger than life, but the real Jones is quietly heroic in a different way, navigating aging, fame, and solitude with dignity, wisdom, and a commitment to living life on his own terms.